Hi, I'm Laura DeMeo Roy, and this is my service dog in training, John Denver. And today we're going to be going over what we've been training over the last few months and what training we'll be working on in the next few months. So grab your dog's favorite chew toy and let's dive in. I feel like I'm either going to have to hold this or you're going to have to go in a crate. So maybe I'm getting old, but in some ways, Denver was one of the hardest puppies I raised for the first 2 months that I've had him. And I have raised German Shepherds, Malinois, Collie, Cattle Dog, some tough breeds, but he was just a tough little nugget for the first couple of months. And then at 4 months old, we got on the road and seemingly overnight, everything changed, and now he is just the most lovely pup and he's doing so awesome. Now, don't get me wrong, he is still a very high energy field lab that needs a lot of my time and attention, but everything is just a little bit easier and I am so grateful for that. What are you doing right now, would you say? Okay, that filming plan wasn't working out because the sound of him chewing and smashing it against the climbs was a little bit too much, so we're gonna do it over here at my desk instead. So let's start with what's happened since my 4-month update. First of all, at 4 months, I loaded him into the van and we started driving cross country. Now, I'm not gonna go a ton into that experience because I do have an entire video about it that I'll put up here and in the comments for you to check out. But there's a couple of things that happened on the road that I think are worth noting. First, I didn't focus a ton on public access training while on the road. I only went out a couple of times to do that. And I also didn't focus that much on training in general as specific training sessions, but more kind of integrated it into our hikes and time outside together. The one thing that I did start training was a backup or a rear foot target that has implications for training the blocking task, which I'm actually going to be doing a deep dive on over on Patreon this month, how to teach the rear foot target, how to teach the backup, and then how to teach a couple of things that use the rear foot target like blocking. So if you want to see that, check it out at patreon.com/doggyu for this month's deep dive. While on the road, we also spent a lot of time just practicing settling and watching things in new environments because I was in California, which the weather was beautiful and there was just a lot more people and dogs out. So we had a chance to really get some passive socialization in. Now, once we got home, we were kind of back into our normal training routine. It was really nice to have like a 6 or 7 week kind of break to our routine, and now we're kind of back in it. So once we got home, we started focusing again on some different public access exposure outings. Now, one of those outings was with my friend Casey, who had 2 service dogs in training with her on that trip, and we went to an arcade and bowling alley. Now, this is a great opportunity for training and socialization because you've got the bowling alley, the loud noises of the pins, the people, and then you've also got the arcade, which has the loud noises, the flashing lights, and we went during a really calm period during the middle of the day on purpose so that it was as low stimulus as possible for such a high stimulus environment. So basically less people to contend with. Now, this type of trip is awesome for preparing for public transit, especially the rides that you can pretend to go on with your service dog. So having them tuck into a ride that has speakers playing, vibrations, that kind of thing is going to be helpful and kind of likens to plane travel, which is something that we want to prepare for in the future. We also got to practice on different underfootings like the lights on Dance Dance Revolution, where I had Denver walk across them, do some sits and downs on these lights. Because in life as a service dog, you're going to encounter so many different types of flooring. So the important part isn't that you get a specific flooring, though lights is one that I try to hit, but that you get a variety of flooring so your service dog is just like, oh, we've done this before, it's just weird flooring, no big deal. And so we had the opportunity to do that at the arcade. Denver and I also got to do a really cool outing where we got to practice loading onto an ambulance at a local EMS. This was a really neat training opportunity and a great way to introduce him to this really challenging thing in the least challenging way possible. So we were really grateful for that opportunity as well. I actually have an entire video on that, so I'll post that up there. So if you want to see more about that experience and what you need to know if you're going to need to get onto an ambulance with your service dog. Outside of public outings, there were also some other things that I was really excited about that happened in the last couple of months. And one of those was Denver learning how to swim, because when I first got Denver, it did not rain for more than a month. And so when we started getting rain and there were puddles, he was actually like trying to go around the puddles. So in the last couple of months, Denver actually learned to swim. So he first started swimming out in California with a bunch of friends, including Cool Whip. And then on the way home, we actually got to practice at a dock diving pool in Colorado, which was an awesome experience. I really hope to compete in dock diving with him in the future. And he even jumped off the big boy dock, not because we were asking him to, because that was the quickest way for him to get his toy. So he's a real natural swimmer, and I'm excited to compete in that in the future. Now, within a week of us getting home from California, unfortunately, we had a huge ice storm, so bad that we actually couldn't really leave the house or hike or do anything outside for more than a week. But the flip side of that is it gave us an opportunity to practice and train for our advanced trick dog title. So Denver ended up earning his advanced trick dog title, and I'm super proud of him, and it really just gave us something to do in that week that it was really hard to keep him entertained and fulfilled. Now, one thing that I did notice when we were working on retrieving a flat item from the flat ground is that he is a bit chompy with some items. So one of the things that we'll be working on in the future is getting a nice steady hold instead of a chompy hold, because he definitely did aerate my card that I had him pick up, and I was grateful that I chose not to use one of my real credit cards. Last month, we also were able to start Family Dog 2 class. So before we had gone on our trip, Denver had finished his Family Dog 1 or puppy kindergarten class, and while I was on the trip, I made sure to sign up for Family Dog 2. It's really important to me to go to training classes where there are other dogs and other dogs training. It's a great opportunity for a captive audience, dogs that are going to be in the environment without interacting with your dog, and it's really helpful for service dog training, even if you already know how to do the skills. I know how to train, a recall or a stay or whatever, but the value is being in that classroom environment and also having the help, because when you go to a class, there's typically at least a trainer and sometimes an assistant, and usually they'll do activities where practicing polite petting, coming up and petting the dog while you're in a stay. They might hold your dog to practice recalls, put distractions out, that kind of thing, where you're getting like a lot of bang for your buck as far as practice goes. We also started a rally drop-in class where we're able to come in, it doesn't have to be every week, and practice a rally course. So it's basically run-throughs. We practice a couple skills and then we start running through the course. So rally obedience is a great sport to get involved in if you're interested in doing a sport with your service dog, because I think it's a beautiful complement to service dog work. And I practice most of the skills at home, things like turning, stopping, stays, like things that you want to be able to easily do with your service dog, and just in a competitive format with different signs that tell you what to do. It's a really fun sport, so I highly recommend it if you're looking for a sport for you and your service dog to kind of compete in. Now, I know that this is going to sound like a lot, but we also started competition obedience class, and that's because this is the only time it was offered. So I'm basically going to classes with him 2 to 3 times a week, and I can always not go to one of those classes if I feel like he's had too much that week. But I wanted to get into competition obedience. It's something that I haven't done before, and it's a precision sport, which is really different than service dog training, where we're talking about long duration skills that the dog needs to be able to just do them at a level over time versus high precision skills done in a short period of time. So I want to earn my CD. That's kind of one of my goals, and then we'll kind of see how it goes from there. I don't know how much I'm going to love the part where you can't really talk to your dog, but I am excited to train some more precision style skills. So you're going to see more of that over on Patreon if you kind of want to follow along our journey in that regard. Doing rally obedience and competition obedience is just kind of one of those things that I want to do for myself, because I really do believe that a service dog should be able to easily pass these lower level titles with the skills that they need for service dog work. This month, we also prepared for and passed our Canine Good Citizen test, which you can take once your puppy turns 6 months old. So if you want to celebrate with me, I would love it if you would head on down and boop that like button. Taking the CGC was good for me because it started me in the process of thinking about reinforcement schedules and reinforcement strategy with Denver, because you can't use food on the CGC test or toys. That means that I had to start working on stringing multiple behaviors together before a food reinforcer, reinforcing off the body, as well as using non-food reinforcers like excited praise, chasing, and pets. It's another reason why I like testing as just a little bit of a benchmark to see how your training is going. So after earning our TKA and our CGC in the last couple of months, what's next for us? Well, first we're gonna work on our CGCA and our CGCU. Now the CGCA is just like a souped up version of the CGC, and in some regards I feel like it's a little bit easier than the CGC is, but that's probably a topic for a different day. But we're pretty much ready to take that. We'll take that in the next month or two, whereas the CGCU, the Urban Canine Good Citizen, is going to take us a little bit more time out in public to prepare, but fortunately the weather's getting nicer, so we should have more opportunities for that. Along with that, skill-wise, we're gonna be focusing on getting more consistent behaviors in new places, especially regarding settling, which is something that I've started working on more consistently with Denver now that he's a little more emotionally mature. Settling is still definitely going to be one of our harder things because this dog is busy, he just likes to move, so we strategically do our settling after some nice longer hikes or training sessions. I'll also be working on the foundations for future tasks, like teaching the block position, starting more formal retrieves, and training him to go get help. These are all things that I can teach at the foundation level without using them in real life and making sure that I protect his puppyhood. I've also signed up for a few different competitions in April and May. I have 2 shed hunts coming up, something we've been working towards since he was around 8 weeks old. I have a dream of being able to hunt moose antlers in Maine and elk antlers out west someday with him, and his dad and many of his relatives are champion shed hunting dogs, and it's just something I've always been into. So I'm interested in hunting wild sheds as well as actually competing in the sport of elite shed dog. We also signed up for an AKC fetch competition, so we'll be prepping for that as well. But other than those few things, what I'm really pumped about is the start of the outdoor recreation season in Connecticut. I'm excited for longer days, the sun being out longer, and also to introduce Denver to kayaking, one of my favorite things to do in the good weather, as well as just more hikes together. So really just letting him grow up and be a puppy outside in nature. And on the topic of growing up, we are also heading directly into adolescence with Denver, so we will see how that goes. All right, y'all, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell button, check out this video next. You all have an awesome day and happy training. Good boy. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of kisses. We have to do work.